Hi everyone, today I'm going to take you with us on our journey to Rwanda, Kigali to be precise, or better known as Chigali. So here we are at the booking office. We use the Trinity bus, which is 2,500 from Kampala to Rwanda, which is in Kenyan shillings, it's 2,500. So we hit the road on our 10-hour safari. So yeah, as you can see, the roofing system in Uganda is kind of different. They use a lot of iron sheet, like the roof goes way up. In that tunajiuliza kwa nini wawesti mabati yote surely. But most houses, that is how it's done. And Rwanda is also similar to that. And as you can see, Uganda is also hilly and equally hot. And kama wewe ni mtu unaweza shikwa na anxiety, don't use border borders in Kampala because the chaos there, my friend, hapana, it was too much for me. And just remembered an escapade we had with my friends. We had been told by a friend, you're supposed to pay 1,000 Ugandan shillings from point A to point B. When we asked, they told us it's like 5,000 Ugandan shillings, to which I think they had noticed we were not Ugandans. So we started bargaining. We bargained, literally for almost an hour, only for us to be embarrassed. When we calculated, like, the 1,000 shillings was equivalent to 35 bob ya Kenya. Yani tulikasirika. Literally tunagombana juu ya shilingi 175 shillings. But sio kupenda kwetu, akili bado ilikuwa inaimba ile 1,000 bob ya Kenya. This roasted bananas got to be my favorite roadside snack. It's really sweet. It's like an almost ripe banana that has been roasted. Ni tamu maze. We had like 5 stops until we got to Rwanda. So here nikaangalia makaa inauza by the roadside, and then they're piling it up on top of the gunia. So I'm like, what is the extra, like debe mbili for what? And you can see the traders along the road, just like in Kenya, they're selling matoke, all that. So I think almost all African countries, biashara tu ni ile ile tu. Yeah, I waited to see like a maize plantation on the way. I didn't see. So here it's just banana plantations along the road, and traders, and maybe people herding cows. It was really interesting. I saw those Ankole cows, the ones that have long horns. I think Marara was one of the biggest towns using that route. And then we also passed M7's hometown, which is Ntugano. Since you're almost in Rwanda, in this video, let me just start by talking about the genocide in Rwanda. It's not a fancy topic to speak about, but it's just good to talk about it for awareness. Before colonization, Rwandans shared a common language, religion, etc. They didn't have these things to do with tribes. But then in 1919, they became a Belgian colony. But before they were Germans, before they were defeated in World War One. So when the Belgians arrived in Rwanda, they allied with the Tutsi, whom they saw they were more superior than the Hutus, and they were given jobs as chiefs, assistant chiefs, those managerial jobs, and they were exempt from forced labor. So the Hutus were kind of sidelined. But in 1969, the Tutsi called for an independence in Rwanda, which the Belgium and they saw it like it was a betrayal from them. This alarmed the colonial authorities, which they immediately switched favorites to Hutus. Then a fight broke, which lasted between 1959 to 1962, and over 300,000 people were displaced and driven from their homes to the neighboring countries, while the majority were pushed to Busegera, which was in the hope that tsetse flies would finish them. Bear in mind, everything was being facilitated by the Belgians by now. So fights didn't stop, they continued, but chini ya waba. Another fights happened between 1966 to 1973, which limited the Susi from access to schools, job, movements, and a lot of things, literally being sidelined in almost everything. So hapa sisi tumefika Gatuna, and you can already see the difference at the border. Maua, Sionini, and everything, yeah. So tukaingia hiyo checkpoint, tukashuka kwa basi, and then we had to remove our luggage. Yeah, so here they do a thorough check-up. Unatoa kila kitu kwa bag. They have to check that you don't have polythene bags, etc, everything that you don't want in Rwanda. So sisi ndio hapo tukiwa kwa queue tukiingia msako. and then CCTV iko kila mahali. And also when you're getting your passport stamp, unaulizwa maswali like what are you coming to do here? Or kama uko na reservation kwenye unalala. It's so strict. I felt like ni kama naenda majuu. And for real, kama unakaa confused, unaambiwa kwanza hebu tulia hapo. Ukae chini useme nini nakupeleka Rwanda. So they are super strict. So that is how the outside looks. Alafu pia ukitaka ku-exchange pesa, you change it. There are places you can change. So sisi tukaingia Kigali, it was already dark, so there was nothing to see. Yeah, giza tu. Got a nice place to sleep and eat near Nyabugongo bus park. Majina ya huku ni ngumu mazee. So that's the view. It's a really interesting one. So mtoto kutoka Kerio Valley nilikuwa nimezoea like ukiingia kwa mkahawa you listen to soft music, but kufika hapa hivi kumbe unapewa headphones usikie like ile wimbo unataka. There are like 3 DJs in the house, so unasikia you switch to which songs you wanna listen to. It was really interesting. So hii ni view ya mchana from a room. So as they call it, the city of 1,000 hills, you can see Kigali is really hilly. So we had planned to visit 3 genocide memorials, but we finally did like 2 of them only. So ndio hao sisi tumepanda bodaboda, we are headed to Kigali Genocide Memorial. The really interesting rules over here about bodabodas: you can't carry more than 1 passenger. Both of you must wear a helmet. And when the boda ride gets to a zebra crossing, he has to stop and wait for pedestrians to cross until they hit the other end of the road. But if they don't wait for the pedestrian to finish crossing, they're fined with 25,000 Rwandan francs, which is equivalent to 2,500 Kenyan shillings. Lakini ujanja ya Ukenya utauliza watajuaje. So there are CCTVs literally everywhere. So si una commit your offense na alafu unapita, like within 5 minutes you get a text that you're supposed to pay that fine on your phone. So to avoid all that, lazima tufuatilie whatever the system says. But actually I felt the safest nikiwa kwa bodaboda here in Kigali. They also have a very nice bus system, almost like the Dubai one. They have cards that you load and then you just swap it. But these buses normally operate within the CBD, literally in Kigali. But there's the other white ones. You don't need to use cards, but just cash. But they go outside Kigali to the villages. But pia hiyo hakuna kufinyana ile style ya matatu huku Kenya. Oh, and they speak French and Kinyarwanda here in Kigali, so it's really hard to find someone who can speak English, but Swahili they speak like in ile style ya Congolese. So let me go back to how the genocide started. In 1990, the RPF, Rwandan Patriotic Front, launched a war of Kweli kizungu si mdomo yangu. Liberation. These are the Tutsis that had been pushed away from 1979 going forward. They claimed to fight their right to return back home. The then government, in retaliation, accused the Tutsis within Rwanda to being accomplices of their brothers. So they were imprisoned and killings and a lot of displacement started in 1990. So finally tukafika Kigali Genocide Memorial, which is super free. But if you have any kind of donation to support the organization, you're free to donate. So we'll start by Kwibuka, which means to remember in Kinyarwanda language, which is a time of remembrance and reflection of the past. It's been 30 years since the genocide in 1994, which happened in only 100 days between April and July of 1994. So hapa you watch on the screen survivors telling their stories of how it happened. So tukaingia ndani ya memorial. They don't allow cameras. So the below video is outside after we were done, and then the mass graves. Yeah, and the fresh flowers where the relatives bring to put on the graves. When you're inside, there's a guide on the walls on how it started, on how it did go, blah blah blah. And it's designed like a maze. You get from this room, then you get to another, evo. So inside there are seats and there are tissues, and also a guiding and counseling room. I didn't understand what it was for until I got to a place where there were pictures of people that were massacred. Hapo naye machozi ilikuwa inatoka roho safi kivyake. Then there's an area where there are skulls, bones, hands, legs, ribs, all that. Yani ngalen agus kong chebosok tugul chi tugul kisute. Ako mi anyun murenik chikiyamyo konya kole cow. Kumbe hata sijafika special unit then, where there are pictures of babies who had been killed and their stories being told. My heart was broken into a million pieces. Yani a 9-month-old anakatwa na machete in his mother's arm. Another one smashed on the wall. Mwingine stabbed in the eyes and the head. Literally, women were sobbing. There were these Congolese women that had come in a group. They were broken beyond. My friend was sobbing hysterically. Nashinda sasa hapa nani atasaidia nani? Kila mtu ako dunia yake. So after that, there's a place where they talk about all the genocides in the world, the Cambodian one, the Bosnia one, etc. So hapo ndio sisi tumepanda tena motorbike. We're headed to Kwamata to go and see another memorial while we try and heal on the way. Uzuri upepo pia ilikuwa inatupepeta kwa njia, ilikuwa inatusaidia. Wacha nirudi pale nilikuwa nimeachia. In 1992, the government soldiers and the militia killed a lot of Tutsis in Busegera. Kumbe it was a rehearsal for the genocide. And in 1993, a peaceful agreement for power sharing and the refugees' return was signed between the government and the RPF. But the political extremists argued against it, and it started preparing for genocide. And in 1994, the killing of the Tutsis started in Busegera, when people ran to the local government offices to seek protection. They were ignored. Little did they know that the government was involved. This genocide led to over 1 million deaths, over 300,000 orphans, over 85,000 children were left to lead their homes. So this particular place called Nyamata Genocide Memorial was actually a Catholic church that used to be a sanctuary for war victims before 1994. So people were gathered here and many other churches, which ended up being the major killing sites in the 1994 genocide. In this church, there was one major mass killing that the militia did to them. So the damage can still be seen to date. On the floor, you can see the bullets, and the black door is where the grenades were thrown at. The white door is a recent one, and then on the roof is the particles from the grenades thrown. That is the original roof. But of course, there's another roof that is on top of it. Some men were outside protecting women, while women and kids were inside. So this is the other side of the door. You're not permitted to go with the camera inside. This is Antonia Locatelli grave. She was an Italian Roman Catholic missionary to Nyamata in the early 1970s until her death in 1992, where she was shot dead on 9th March. Reason being, earlier in that day, she revealed involvement of the government in targeting Tutsi in Busegera region, and that the perpetrators were being ferried by government vehicles to commit the acts. She said this live on BBC and Radio France International. The same evening she was shot dead. I forgot to say that inside there are many clothes the victims used to wear, and also their skulls, arms, legs, and if you observe the skulls, you can see their trauma marks, being burnt alive, being knocked, machete cuts, all that. Also the Virgin Mary statue, as you can see from inside, it had been shot a number of times, reason being that Mary looked like a Tutsi woman with a long nose, mutia missing. And also on the walls, you can see that the bullets that were sprayed there. More than 500 people were killed in this church. Hapo hivyo tukasign kitabu ya wageni, and then we headed back to the city. So these are the white buses that are gonna take us to a place called Nyanza. And then from there we took the modern bus that you pay via card. Disclaimer, if you know you're not strong enough, you should not visit these places, because ukivaa viatu ndio utaelewa. That is how we spent our day in Rwanda. If you like this kind of content, kindly subscribe on my YouTube channel, Diaries of a Tribe, and also follow me on TikTok. Bye, and thank you for watching.